The reason that my paintings started going towards pollution was that was predominantly what I saw. I mean, I was, at the time, I was always kind of really interested in trying to paint what I see. And when pollution started, filling up the sky, I painted it, not being really conscious of the fact that the color of the sky was changing. So I didn't really realize it so much until after I saw a series of them or something, and a series next to an earlier series I'd done, the color of the sky had changed. My name is Joe Goode. I've been here for I don't know how many years. The studio has been a kind of dream studio for me, in the fact that it was the first time I was ever to build a studio and have everything in it that I wanted. So at the time, it was a dream studio for me. And 15 years later or something, it's amazing to me that it still feels that way to me. I don't feel like I want it any larger or any smaller. It's just kind of, I feel like it's a perfect fit for me. Well, I think at the time I was trying to pinpoint kind of how bad pollution was, because I just always assumed that Los Angeles, because of its cars and the ozone layer and stuff like that there was just more smog here than every place. That I got that, but the thing I didn't understand until I saw it was how much smog there was in other cities. And it seemed to me, and of course I could be wrong, or could have been wrong, but it seemed to me that the people who were living in places like Frankfurt or London, other cities in Europe, they weren't as aware of the smog because it wasn't the deep color of dirt that our smog was. But I was always thinking, it could turn to this. And so for that reason, I started kind of identifying cities that I saw smog at, whether it was a big deal at the time or not. The reason I stopped using oil paint was because I came in my studio when it was just beginning to catch on fire. That's when I stopped using oil paint and turpentine and all these flammable materials, and started using acrylic and this water-based. Oil paint, being as combustible as it was, no longer appealed to me, and I was afraid at the time. The reason I never used acrylics before is I thought that the paint was really flat compared to oil paint, and for a long time it was. But when I started using them, I realized that there was such an improvement in acrylics that it was hardly, if at all, noticeable in the difference. And that really kind of paved the way for me. The thing I like about making ceramics is, number one, I don't have a market for it, which means I can make anything I want, any size, and it doesn't matter to anybody except me. That's primary for me making ceramics. Another reason is that, this is kind of like a hobby for me, and it's easy to store. They're small, by and large, they're small, and so they're easy to store. So those are pretty good reasons why I like doing it. Art doesn't really mean anything to me insofar as a general question. Art is just another territory, and it's architecture is one, mathematics is another. It's just a territory, and I think as we all grow up, we all have our aspirations of what kind of territory we'd like to wander into. But in this case, my father, having been a portrait painter, and he did signage for a large department store in Oklahoma City where I grew up. That was a huge influence for me as well. So, it's hard for me to say where I came from, other than, that's where my first influences came from.